In this video, I'm going to show you the difference between a formal and an informal letter. To do that, we're going to do an activity. Here we have a task with a letter to a colleague. And here we have exactly the same task, except in this case it's to a friend. So, as we saw in the last video, the letter you write for task A should be formal, and the letter for task B should be informal. We're going to complete these letters sentence by sentence. Both letters begin Dear Dan, and here we have the first sentence of each letter. Which sentence goes with which letter? Hit pause and take some time to answer that question now. Are you ready? Okay. For letter A, the sentence is this one. Most of the language in this sentence is neutral. However, attend is quite formal. And this sentence is for letter B. The greeting, how's it going, is informal, whereas in letter A, I hope you're well, is neutral. We also have make your leaving do, which is less formal than attend, and the noun do, which is a less formal way to say party. Party is neutral. You could use that in any letter. Next, again, hit pause and match the sentence to the letter. You ready? This sentence is more formal, and this one's slightly more informal. The word so here is informal. We often say, I'm so sorry, I'm so happy, or I'm so angry, to add emphasis in a conversation. But in a formal letter, you should say instead, I'm very sorry, I'm really sorry, or I'm extremely sorry. The exclamation mark is also common in informal writing to add emphasis. To be safe, you shouldn't use it in a formal letter. And lastly, my parents' place is more informal than my parents' house. Okay, next. In letter A, we have this one. And this sentence in letter B. Miles away means very far away, and it's quite informal. And also get there is less formal than arrive, although get there is still quite neutral, so it would also be okay in letter A. Next, in letter A we have this, and this for letter B. Mate is a very informal way to say friend in England. And also we have, I was devastated, which is more extreme than very sorry. In informal situations, the language is often more exaggerated. Next. Okay, again, here we have so well, which is less formal than alternatives like very well, really well, or extremely well. We also have gutted, which is a very informal way to say really upset. Meanwhile, in letter A, we have more advanced language like develop a working relationship and collaborate, which make the letter sound less conversational. Conversational just means like a conversation, so it sounds less like a conversation. Next. Are you ready? Again, we have so happy with an exclamation mark in the informal letter, and we also have still, which is a more conversational way to say that being said. Now, this brings me to an important point. Many of the linking words that you've probably learned for your essay in task 2 are quite formal, and we don't use them much in conversation when talking to each other in person. So, linking words like therefore, nevertheless, in contrast, and additionally, for example, should not be used in informal letters. Later on in this course, I'll show you some good informal linking words for your letters. Okay, next. Hit pause to give you some time to answer. The answer is this. So here makes this sound more like a conversation, which is typical of informal writing. And in letter A, we have, will you be provided with accommodation? Here, accommodation is more formal than place. But also we have the passive voice, will you be provided, instead of, are they going to give you? Now, you can use the passive voice in an informal letter, but it's more common in formal letters because it sounds less conversational. Next. The answer is this. This expression beginning with I bet is very common in conversation. And we also have the exclamation mark again in the informal letter. Meanwhile, here we have terribly excited, which is more formal than so excited. Next. Are you ready? To need a hand or to give somebody a hand is an informal way to say to help. And we also have finalize in letter A, which is quite formal and can sometimes be used instead of to finish. We can also see that the language in letter B is more exaggerated again, with have an amazing time instead of have fun. And finally, to finish, we have, and the answer is this. Stay in touch is a more informal way to say stay in contact. And buddy is also an informal word for friend. Okay, I hope that has helped you to identify some of the patterns of formal and informal language in English. Here are the letters in full, and you can also download them as part of this lecture. Notice that there are contractions in both letters. That's fine. You can use contractions in an informal letter. Notice also that most of the language in these letters is neutral, as you can see here. Some of it may be slightly formal or slightly informal, but it's still okay to use in any letter. And here I'm highlighting language that is very formal. This language should not go in letter B. Similarly, here's the language that is very informal. And again, you shouldn't use this language in a formal letter like letter A. If you find it difficult to identify informal and formal language, then that's something you need to work on. To learn formal language, watch and read the news, or even speeches by important people, and write down any expressions that you think are formal. Likewise, to learn informal language, watch series like Friends or The Office, and write down language that you think is informal. Then check it and practice using it with an English tutor so that you can learn how to use it correctly. Okay, I hope that helped. In the next lecture, I'm going to show you some formal and informal language that you can use to begin and end your letters.